Peace, soul family. Just making this video right now. I'm going through this situation in real time right now, and this is basically just straight to the point. This is dealing with traumatic family members, difficult family members, and narcissists within the home. Now, this is a real-time video because when we go into the term domestic issue, a domestic issue isn't just a lost term that's solely rooted in physical violence, or it's not a term that's solely rooted in just, like people fighting like physically and everything like that. Domestic issues in general is just simply within the home. Domestic issues just in general is just issues within close proximities of your family and your bloodline. Physical bloodline. Spiritual bloodline is a whole different situation and topic. So when dealing with traumatic, now first of all, let me just go into what sparked this whole video in general, because this wasn't planned. This wasn't anything that I was, not saying videos are scripted, but this isn't anything that, was taken down for notes. This is shit I've been dealing with my whole entire life since I was born. I've been dealing with this shit since before I was born. Dealing with this shit, when I was just my father's thoughts, and when I was just an emotional vibration to my mother. That whole situation, because you're a product of your father's thoughts and your mother's emotions. So before shit like this even occurred in the first place, there was already traumatic shit going on in my house. But anyway, this isn't about me, and this isn't about what I've gone through, because I'm doing this to help y'all, because we've all been through these situations. We've all experienced, difficult family members, regardless if it was due to physical abuse, verbal abuse, negligence, I guess that's how you say it, and just abuse in general, and spiritual, physical, emotional, thought forms, the whole 9 yards. So with that being said, dealing with traumatic family members in general is very difficult, because anytime you're talking about the home, you're dealing with Cancer energy. Anytime you're talking about the home, now we're going into astrology right now. Anytime you're dealing with the home, you're dealing with the 4th house. Anytime you're dealing with home, you're dealing with the moon. You're also dealing with Jupiter in its exalted state, since we're talking about Cancer and we're talking about the 4th house. Now we can also get into the detriment and the fall, which is, when it comes to the detriment, Saturn, and when it comes to the fall, that's Mars. Let me turn this shit off. Sorry about that, y'all. So anyway, that's the Cancer archetype. That's the 4th house archetype in general, when we're dealing with family and domestic issues on any level. Pardon me. Now, when you're dealing with domestic issues, since we're talking about the 4th house, it's good to know the certain alignments that go on within your houses. Not within your houses, but that the alignments that are made strictly to the 4th house. And what I mean by this is tapping into these energies and tapping into these elements in general. Because I was about to go in how to rectify this on a personal level, but the thing is, one thing I'm realizing as I'm making this video is that me explaining my own personal situation, even though it would be relatable to a certain degree, it would be different, because we've all dealt with this same energy. This is a global, worldwide, this is a universal energy that people have dealt with, as far as domestic issues and everything like that. Or even when we're talking about domestic issues within the 4th, 5th, and 6th dimension, as far as people arguing over their own individual space. But we're not even going to get into that right now. Just a basic video of how to kind of these are the beginning stages of, rectifying these energies. Because one thing I've realized, even though going to school in general can be a form of lostness, it just depends on how. And the reason I'm bringing up school is because I studied psychology mainly whenever I was in the college program and everything like that. Even in the very end stages of high school, at the high school programming, I was getting into psychology. That was like the main. I wasn't into any extracurricular activities or anything like that. No sports. I wanted to be in the band, but, I couldn't be in the band due to intensive reading situations, which you would think, well, damn, you're an air sign. You should be good at reading. Well, I have Mercury retrograde. So with Mercury retrograde being in fixed air, there are a lot of thoughts going on, and I'm a very bright person, but it's not always geared towards, elements of mathematics or just school stuff in general. I was really good at memorizing like difficult Nintendo characters' names. But that's another story. That's just my childhood in general. Nintendo games and video games in general, and just cartoonish kind of stuff, because I have the sun in the 12th house, and I'm going to get into the video, but I just wanted to make this point because this shows how astrology is real too. I have the sun in the 12th house. I also have Mercury in the very beginning of my 12th house, so it's kind of on the cusp of the 11th and the 12th house. So my Mercury plays out in a very, mystic kind of way, as far as, how it plays out in everyday life, as far as daydreaming, being into cartoons and everything like that. Like, I just found myself, revisiting the origins of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, how it started, in comic book form and shit like that. You see, like, but that's a whole different, that's a whole form of just entertainment in general. And that's a whole nother video. We're not even going to get into that. I got talking about Ninja Turtles and shit like that. Which the Ninja Turtles also relate to the 4 royal fixed stars. Leonardo deals with the Regulus energy, because it's in that Leo energy. It's on the cusp of Leo and Virgo. Michelangelo would probably be Archangel Michael. Michelangelo. Archangel Michael is Archangel Michael is not Archangel Michael. Archangel Michael is Michelangelo. Donatello, probably Formahald, actually. And then Raphael would be the Archangel Uriel. Now, I don't know that for sure. That's kind of just me, basing the energies of, basing it off names and what each turtle represents. Anyway, this ain't a video about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Sorry for getting lost, y'all. But it's not really lostness, because everything in life has its points to the same thing of what we're trying to explain. These cartoonists and these producers, they know what they're doing. Anyway, getting back onto track with, handling domestic issues, you want to deal with alignments when it comes to your 4th house. Now, eventually in further, if we want to chop it up, you can email me and we can chop it up about, alignments and shit like that, as far as your houses, like where your houses are, like if you got the 4th house in Taurus, if you got the 4th house in Gemini, like myself, or if you have the 4th house in Leo, or the whole 9 yard. But we're just talking about the 4th house in general and the alignments it makes. So just, this isn't all of them, but, a couple ways you can tap into this energy to help domestic issues is, let's start with the trines. The 4th house trines, the 8th house, and the 12th house. The 8th house represented Scorpionic energy, ruled by Pluto, Mars, they don't say a certain planet is exalted in Scorpio, but based upon my researches, and it makes sense, the planet Uranus actually is exalted in Scorpio. Which makes sense because Scorpio is such a deep energy, and it's a lot of self-transformation. So, and Uranus is the planet of change anyway, so, just that energy signature of change in general, being exalted in Scorpio, that's Scorpio loves to do that shit. It loves to change. It loves to rebel too, in a lot of different ways. This is one of the similarities that Scorpios and Aquariuses have in general. And I can speak on this. One of my closest friends of all time is a Scorpio. I need to include her in one of my videos. She's soul group too. But that's a whole nother video. Anyway, it's not just me. I mean, I pretty much dropped everybody. But anyway, we're not talking about all that. By the way, if anyone doesn't know, I'm not doing this because I'm, copying Archangel Uriel when he claps. This is literally like how you ward demons away. You got to put your intention into the vibration of the clap. And the intention is to ward off distractions. But at the same time, these aren't distractions because they still have knowledge, but we're getting off the wrong foot because we're talking about domestic issues. And with the trine with the 8th house, the 4th house with the 8th house, what you can do to rectify any domestic issues going on in the house is you take your own deep emotions and you stay fixated on them. Not now, I'm not saying if you feel away like a negative feeling, that doesn't mean be fixated on a negative feeling. You got to know what the energy represents, and then you use the emotions that you want to have and you put it into that energy. So basically you're taking an emotion, like let's say there's a lot of fighting going on. It's not even like, physical abuse or anything like that. Let's just say there's a bunch of verbal argumentation. What you want to do is you want to take that trine energy that the 4th house has with the 8th house, and what you want to do is You want to take any emotion that you would like to see happen into the household, whether it be positivity, peacefulness, and even if people are like having disagreements, just, having a respectful, level-headed, balancedness between each individual views. And a lot of this comes from people watching a bunch of Fox News, CNN, a bunch of news channels. I can name drop a bunch of them. You know what I'm saying? So with that situation playing out, the 8th house is going to allow you to take that fixed water energy. And we know when you solidify water, it's an ice cube. So if you take the emotion of peace and you put it into an ice cube to save it for a day when you get thirsty and you need to drink that energy, you take the 4th house energy, which is your domestic issues, and you take the scorpionic energy and you solidify an emotion. And then once you take that energy and you change, and it's a change, you know what I'm saying? If the energy that was in the house was mainly negativity, you can change that shit. That's the exaltation of Uranus in Scorpio and everything like that. So with the trine going now to the 12th house, so this is the whole trine of the water houses. With the 12th house, how this plays out in rectifying domestic issues is basically the 12th house deals with your dreams. It deals with faith. So, when people are like, dang, I know this shit doesn't seem like it would work in real life. I know this shit is crazy, but you know what? I'm gonna fake it till I make it. That's basically what it means to have true faith and imagination and using your creativity, like the great Dole, the pilot man, Archangel Uriel teaches us still to this day. And we have to use this energy to fully put into motion what we're trying to manifest as far as rectifying domestic issues. So when you take the 4th house energy, whatever's going on in the home, because that's the source, that's the problem we're trying to fix is domestic issues. You take the trine, you go to the 8th house, you solidify any emotion that you want to see represented. Then you take the 8th house energy, you take it to the 12th house. Now you're about to complete the whole triangle that you're about to put into the household. And then you daydream about it. And you have to take that solidified ice cube that you took from the 8th house and you have to daydream on it and have dreams, have a lot of faith, have a lot of belief in that emotion. And basically why I say that is because this isn't going to be anything that happens overnight. Now, it depends on how strong your spirit is. Now, if you have a super strong spirit, now I'm saying like a really powerful spirit, you could rectify this shit overnight. But we're not perfect. So, this isn't an overnight thing. With this trine, because that's the last part of the trine. Even though if we want to talk about the history of astrology, the trine really starts with the 12th house. We're not going to go into that because we're talking about the 4th house, and that's the source. Going from the 4th house to the 8th house to the 8th house to the 12th house. With the 12th house, the belief and the creativity of the emotion that you're trying to present into the household as a general, that's nice. So your emotion is the general of the situation. It is the commander-in-chief of the situation. Everybody takes orders from this one emotion, which is the emotion that you put into this ice cube. Now you see, that's real spirituality. You can see, I could have been like, oh, that wasn't a real world. What I just said, that didn't make sense. But now I was able to take the concept of what we use general for. Now general, when we come to generalizations, in general, just in an energy signature is just the head of something. So when you put your emotion into the head of something, then the 12th house, you have belief in it, you have faith in it. So anyway, going back to what I was saying of the energy not playing out right away, this is just because you need to have faith and belief into that situation, because Neptune and Jupiter rule the 12th house and Venus is exalted there. So the exalted energy of loving and really being tapped into how much you value that belief, how much you value that emotion, how much you want to see that shit manifest. When you complete that trine, you'll see many things manifest. You'll see a bunch of beautiful situations manifest that will work out in your favor. Now you have to be positive. Now, if you're wishing negativity on people, if you're wishing shit, and see, I have to be careful of this too, because the situations that are playing in my life, they're really traumatic, and it has built anger in me. But even me making this video right now is dissipating that anger, because as I'm teaching y'all, I'm teaching myself too. how to rectify these energies. Pardon me. So yeah, when you take the 4th house, the 8th house, and the 12th house, and you use that triangle to bring a manifestation, you'll see wonders. I'm going to catch y'all later. Peace.